Well, let's return to the Middle East now. And Donald Trump is reportedly pressuring Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to end the 20-month war with Hamas following the 12-day conflict with Iran, according to several Israeli media outlets. Joining me now to discuss this and other stories is Joel Burnie from the Australia, Israel and Jewish Affairs Council. Joel, thanks for coming on. It's great to see you. Trump managed to get the Israelis to listen when it came to maintaining the ceasefire with Iran. That's despite the violation from Iran firing those missiles after that ceasefire had been announced. How do you think Trump will go convincing Netanyahu to end this war in Gaza?
Well, thank you very much for having me on, Caroline. Well, that's a very good question, and I think there's a lot of optimism. And given the momentum of the very successful mission in Iran over the past 2 weeks, the 12-day operation, and then if you look at it within the context of everything that's transpired in the region post-October 7, we are seeing such a seismic shift in the geostrategic outlook of the region, all ushered in as a response to that massacre on the day of October 7. We have a complete realignment of the region, which allows for certain things to happen. I would actually say it's one of the largest geostrategic alignments since the fall of the Soviet Union and the end of the Cold War. So what this momentum will do with the Trump administration and the Netanyahu government will hopefully translate into some type of effective ceasefire in Gaza. Now, there's been quite a lot of chatter in the Israeli press over the past 24 hours. And the hope is that the momentum will force Hamas to essentially exile their leadership. Some type of multinational Arab, multinational force will be placed into some type of temporary administrative power inside Gaza. And most importantly, it will mean the return of the hostages and ultimately the end of the war. So this has been a very long and protracted war. Regionally, the successes are incredible. No less to the efforts of the Netanyahu government and the IDF as well. So the hope is that there can be some type of wind up in Gaza, which would mean that Hamas is exiled and no longer in power. And most importantly, we have the return of the hostages.
That would be incredible. But I note that the Israel press is also reporting that part of this plan to end the war would mean new countries would join the Abraham Accords, which is very positive, but that Israel would also be required to commit to supporting a future Palestinian state. Now, normalization with Israel obviously would be very welcome news, I think, to you. But what about this other condition to commit to a Palestinian state? How realistic is it that Benjamin Netanyahu and his government will do that?
Well, firstly, again, following on from the momentum that's occurred from the military action over the past 20 or 21 months, what we've seen here is the potential expansion of what is the most remarkable, Abraham Accords, which ensures the safety of the region. The idea that Saudi Arabia and potentially Syria will be the first two countries to enter those accords, which have remained stable with those that signed up to it during the first Trump administration. So the bedrock of them is very strong, and this is what will usher in economic and regional stability. Now, on that part of the two-state solution, as we know, for the Saudis to enter such an agreement, they need to have some type of tangible steps or process towards a two-state solution. And all I can say is this. For obvious reasons, but mainly because of Palestinian rejectionism of previous offers, plus the bloody responses that come through those offers, namely the Second Intifada and obviously October 7, the Israeli public has unfortunately been weaned off the idea that there is a partner for peace. So the idea, and as been reported over the past 24 hours, is the idea of somehow recognizing that the two-state solution is the ultimate aim, but the caveat is that it will require deep modification and the removal of the corruption of the Palestinian Authority. So without that deep reform of the Palestinian Authority, which I will remind your viewers is currently paying the stipends of Hamas terrorists who entered Israel on October 7, there is significant change that is required within Palestinian political society as well as the Palestinian street. So I think that it'll be some type of comment to say that we aspire to some type of two-state solution, but it cannot happen without deep reform at the Palestinian Authority.
Yeah, I think pay for slay is what you're referring to there. Very quickly, Joel, because we're almost out of time, I just want to play these comments from Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei to you. He's declared victory over Israel, perhaps a little bit short of a divorce from reality here. Here they are.
The US attacked our nuclear facilities, a matter that is independently worth pursuing for prosecution in international courts, but they failed to do anything significant. The President of America greatly exaggerated what had happened. It became clear that he needed this exaggeration.
Joel, your response?
Just very quickly, Caroline. So, we've had control of the skies over Iran for a period of 2 weeks, the complete annihilation of their air force, the near complete and hopeful annihilation of their ballistic missile arsenal, as well as the knocking off of their top military brass from the IRGC, the army, and also their nuclear scientists. I think it's very fair to say that the majority of the planet that's watched this knows exactly who the winner is and indeed who the loser is.
Yes, and it's certainly not Iran. Okay, thank you, Joel Burnie, so much for your time.
Thank you, Caroline.